Japan is often associated as a country with a calming aura and full of culture. It has successfully built a positive image globally, but there are tons of unsolved mysteries that reveal the true dark side of Japan. They've always tried to keep these a secret because no one wants to deteriorate their reputation themselves. Today we are going to share some of the darkest unsolved mysteries that Japan wants no one to know. Keep an open mind while listening to these, as they can change your perspective about Japan. Let's get started. The Satanic Verses murder. It's the 11th of July, 1991, about 12 in the night. A janitor was cleaning the hallways. He took the lift to approach the 7th floor. As he came out of it, he saw a horrific sight in front of him. A university professor laying in front of his office, all covered in blood. The blood was everywhere, from his office to the hallway. Floors turned red and blood drops are all over the walls. He turns the body upside down and sees a corpse stabbed multiple times brutally in the chest. He called the police, and they arrived in a few minutes. After the autopsy report, it was revealed that his throat was cut off first. Then, out of frustration, he was stabbed in the chest. The death time was between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. It is believed that some students visited him late at night and he was assassinated afterwards. That professor's name was Hitoshi Igarashi, a 44-year-old professor from Tsukuba University, Tokyo. He was a lecturer of Arabic and Persian, and he learned it from the land of Iran somewhere in his stay during 1970. Iran is the same country from where his assassination was ordered. As he was a pioneer when it comes to Arabic and Persian languages, he translated a novel that became the assumed reason behind his death. The novel was Satanic Verses by Indian writer Salman Rushdie. It was a novel that clearly stabbed Islam, as it was anti-Islamic, and it clearly insults the prophecy and declares God's words as satanic verses. It was a serious attack on Islam, so an Iranian scholar issued a fatwa saying that he dared to mimic our religion intentionally, so there's no way we could forgive this person, and ordered to murder the writer. Even knowing about this threat, Hitoshi translated it. It sold like hotcakes, as nearly 70,000 copies were sold. But after all, it was a threat to Islam, so it is believed that his murder was orchestrated by someone with Islamic background. Even after having a knowledge of Arabic and Persian as their most important Islamic languages, wasn't it a wrong decision to try to defame a religion while knowing the consequences? After this incident, the Japanese government advised publishers to not publish it, as it's unethical, but still it was being sold in several hidden ways. The publisher reported that he's getting death threats, but Hitoshi's family ensured that he never got any threats. Was it because they were trying to kill him without any warnings, or maybe they never did it, because the reason hasn't been discovered yet? It's an unsolved mystery that enlightens dark Japanese history. The Hachijo Market Triple Murder. In 1995, the summer festival sale is on. It's Sunday, the last day of the sale. At 9:20 p.m., while 3 co-workers were closing the market, the nearby community hears 5 shots, and after some time the news was everywhere that 3 co-workers, 16-year-old student Hiromi Maeda, another 17-year-old student Megumi, and their 47-year-old in charge Noriko Inagaki. It's been 28 years since the horrible incident, but the case is still unsolved. Let's get into the specifics of this case and see why these women were killed and what made it so complex that there's still no specific reason behind this incident. Let's start from an overview of victims, as it has a great impact within the investigation. First victim was 16-year-old Hiromi, a high school student who had finished her shift but preferred to wait for her 17-year-old co-worker Megumi, who was also a high school teacher who wanted to be a nursery teacher. She had great interest in basketball. Then comes the third worker, named Inagaki. She is the supposed reason behind this attack. She's been working here for barely a month, but has been promoted to being in charge. There were rumors that she had some sort of affair with the store's owner. That's why she gets this special treatment. She even had safe keys, as she was the one who handled all the money. It's said that she had connections with several men that are a part of underworld agencies, as she had been a part of Japanese hostess clubs. She would get to see several filthy rich guys every day, so it was common for her to have relations with mighty men. She even opened her own restaurants with the money she got from them, but then after getting death threats from those underworld guys, she had to quit the hotel. So she finally started as a manager in a supermarket as a part-timer. It was the 5th and last day of the sale of the summer festival, and it was at its prime. It was such a busy day, but people almost left the market before 8 p.m. because of festival celebrations. These girls were also waiting to close it, so they could go and enjoy the festival. Last buyers were a couple who left at 8:48 p.m. After that, they started to close the market. Hiromi and Megumi were closing the doors while 47-year-old Inagaki was putting the cash in the safe. Around 9:15 p.m., the nearby people heard several shots, but no one noticed because of the festival. Before the attack, Inagaki had called her friend, telling him to come and pick her up so they could have some drinks. He came and waited 20 minutes. When she didn't come out, he went to the bar, thinking she might have left for it earlier, but he had no idea what he was going to experience soon. When he didn't find her there, he came back and went inside, and he almost choked on the sight he had in front of him. The door of the office was open, and 3 women were lying in front of him, and one of those was his friend Inagaki. He called the authorities, and a total of 5 bullets were shot. Megumi and Hitomi were shot in their heads while they took their frustration out on the manager. Autopsy reports revealed that she was hit badly on her shoulder and back. Then they stabbed her multiple times and shot twice out of frustration. It felt like they came there specifically for her. Megumi and Hitomi got to pay for something they didn't even do. Then they shot the safe because they didn't know the password, but it was just an attempt to make it look like it was a robbery, and then they shot it out of frustration. If they would have wanted the code, Inagaki knew the password as well, as it was written on the manager's book, so they didn't even try to open it. There were no DNA or fingerprints telling that they actually tried to open it. After that, the government announced a $6 million reward for anyone who gives some authentic information regarding this case. Many suspects were called in, but it's been 3 decades nearly. The real culprit hasn't been found yet, and the case is still unclosed. Police subjected Assassinations as Suicide. It's October 12, 2002. Someone was roaming around the Nare River and suspected some strange odor. He could guess that something was burning nearby, but the odor was too unfamiliar and there was something abhorrent about it. He kept looking for it, following the direction his nose was pointing in. As he walked towards the bank of the river, the smell kept increasing. The moment he peeked through the bushes, the pleasant sight of the river wasn't pleasant anymore. There were black clouds of smoke all around. A car was on fire, and around 10 meters away from it, there was a body on fire. The reflection of fire on water made it look like the river was on fire. The moment he got his consciousness back, he called the authorities. After the initial search, it was found that the dead body was that of a Japanese actress whose name was Rosomi Mamoy. She was a 24-year-old adult performer who was renowned all over the world for her doll-like face. But what happened to that face? Why would someone want to set it on fire after snatching the soul out of it? Did someone hate her that much? While Mamoy was in her peak phase, shooting around 10 movies per month, she got stabbed to death. After the initial autopsy reports, it was revealed that she was stabbed 6 times first, and then her body was set on fire. But this isn't it. The car that was around her corpse was also on fire, with another person being scorched in it. Police took 5 hours to identify that the person who was on fire was a guy. Then it was discovered that that guy was no one but the boyfriend of Mamoy. They didn't find any potential proof that pointed towards a third person doing these killings. So finally, police came with a story that the guy killed Mamoy first, and then killed himself after setting her body on fire. But on the other hand, it could be done by any person who was obsessed with her beauty, and he hated her being with anyone else. That's why he killed her and her boyfriend in a rage. Anyway, the guy's family denied those allegations, and in 2008, the court announced to not recall him as a murderer, but the search of the killer was never initiated afterwards. Those were some unsolved dark mysteries associated with Japan. These do feel like something out of movies, but it feels too scary to even imagine that this kind of thing could happen in such a developed country. Let me know if you liked it, because I've got more of the same sort of stuff. I'll be waiting to see some suggestions in the replies. That's it for today. Give it a like to show your interest, and do click that subscribe button. Don't forget to hit the bell icon to get notifications of our latest updates. See y'all soon with more interesting stuff.